hand over to Jilna, our presenter tonight. I know she's planned a jam-packed session with practical advice, honest insight, and actionable guidance. So get your pens and notebooks ready and start shaping your future with confidence. Over to you, Jilna.
Thank you, Smita. What a nice introduction. I'm just going to put up my screen so hopefully everyone can see it. Smita, let me know once it's on. Right, I'm hoping that everyone can see that. So thank you for the introduction. I'm Jilna. I am a Trust Careers Lead for 2 schools, and I'm a qualified level 6 careers advisor as well. I started as a geography teacher, so trained in a degree in geography and then in education as a master's, and I've been working in education and research since 2010. So just a little bit of background about me. A couple of ground rules and expectations. It would be really nice if people that are on here, thank you for joining, to ask questions, share any experiences, interact, but please be respectful in your interactions as well. There's a lot of guidance throughout here, and it's not necessarily aimed for kind of one size fits all, kind of the university pathway. We're looking at all pathways, so please be open to listening about alternatives to traditional pathways as well. With that in mind, I want to just go through the objectives. So my intention is to share all post-18 pathways as well, suggest resources both for parents and students that are most common for this particular age category to use that in carving out your career pathway. I'll go through university and UCAS tips and how to kind of navigate the UCAS portal as well. And then some advice on degree apprenticeships and also on supported internships if you are somebody with special educational needs as well. Right. What I normally do with some of my students, and this is kind of teacher mode, if you like, is I like to start off with this slide here. And there's hopefully 4 familiar celebrities on there as well. And at the bottom, A, B, C, D are options of what their first job was when they started out before they became the celebrity. So if you can, in the chat function, I'd like you to have a go at matching up the numbers to the letters. Admins, you can have a go as well if you like, just to see what we can come up with. What was their first job when they started? I'll give a minute or two in the chat if anyone would like to have a go. Okay, we got an answer in already for one of them. And I remember the first time I did this, I found it really difficult as well because the first jobs are so random. It was very hard to match them up. Right, so let's have a look then. These are what their first jobs were. So Margot Robbie, obviously a very successful actress. She started out working as a Subway employee. Kate Middleton, a luxury fashion buyer. Brad Pitt, again, very successful actor and director, was a chicken costume wearer. And then Dwayne Johnson, who's kind of moved from wrestling to acting and also producing, was a dishwasher. And the reason why I show my students this in school is to show them that everyone starts somewhere. Even celebrities who have earned the money that they've earned, they had to hard graft with these types of jobs as well. So even if you've got a Saturday job doing a paper round or anything like that, everyone starts somewhere. But the 3 bits of advice that I would give anyone at any kind of pivotal stage, particularly at 17, 18, is research is key. You need to know what you're doing, where you're going, what's out there and how it might change. You need to be informed. So maybe until now, you will know a lot about university because perhaps people you know went to university. Do you know what else is out there? Do you know why that might be perhaps more beneficial or less beneficial to you? And I would strongly suggest get experience. Now, since COVID, in my experience, it's been really difficult getting things like work experience, but there are other avenues that I'll discuss later that you can get the experience there as well. So some of you might be sitting there thinking, well, how do I climb up? Where do I want to end up? I'm not really sure. And I'm sure that you'll fall into some sort of category that I've kind of listed there. So a lot of the students that I typically meet fall into one of these 4 categories. Number 1 being, I know what I want to do in my life. I know my long-term career. I've known for ages that I really want to be an engineer, for example. Number 2, I know what I want to do post-18, perhaps in the short term, but I'm not really sure what I want to do thereafter. That's also okay. Number 3, I'm confused between all the options because perhaps you have a really good school that show you all the options and it's just too much choice. Or number 4, perhaps where I was when I was 16, I haven't really started to think about it yet. I'm not really sure what to do yet. And that's also okay as well. So the point of this webinar is to showcase what all the options are, but also there is absolutely no judgment with whatever option that you choose. So let's start off with option number 1. I know what I want to do in my life in terms of a long-term career. And what I'd like you to think about is things like motivation. What is your motivation for that particular career? Is it that you want money? Is it that you are thinking about family? Is it that you're thinking about work-life balance, perhaps? What is your motivation for that career? Do you know the steps to get there? What do you need to do in order to get to that career? Do you need to do a degree? Do you need to do some training? Do you need some work experience? Do you need to pay for something in order to get the equipment to do that particular thing? Also be prepared for career changes. You might have in your mind, I really want to be an engineer, but things change for a reason. Mechanization happens, AI happens, lots of different things happen. So career changes are okay. It's very normal now for people to have several different careers in their life rather than kind of that one traditional career. So rerouting is absolutely fine. You may have heard a lot of information about artificial intelligence, perhaps labour market. Are you informed? I know I work in West London, so West London have a great website, which I've linked on here, about labour market information. So we know that there are jobs that may not exist in the future. There are jobs that might be more convenient to do in the future. There's a really great report by Goldman Sachs on AI and its impact on the job market and kind of demystifying it a little bit. So it's just worth being AI and labour market informed about the types of jobs that you may wish to do in the future. Do you have realistic expectations? I have a lot of people that I meet, particularly sixth form, who have fairly decent grades, maybe B's or C's, and they really want to do dentistry or medicine. Really, in order to do some of these subjects, you do need the top grades. Are you being realistic about what you can do at that time frame? And that's not putting a glass ceiling on you, it's just being realistic about that particular situation. Does your current attainment allow you to get there? And then thinking about a cost as well. So one of the careers that sticks out here is if you want to become a pilot. Now, in terms of fees, if you want to become a pilot and training, it's between 90 to 100K in order to do that. So do your funds and does your situation allow you to do that? Or would you need to do something else in order to get sponsored to become something like a pilot? So it's just some things to think about. What if you fall into category number 2? I know what I want to do post-18, kind of in the short term. Do you know about the application process and the deadlines? And I'll go through these about UCAS and apprenticeships as well, but they are quite different. So if you are planning on applying to university and also to apprenticeships, you'll need to factor in how much time you have in order to do that and which one comes first. If you fall into the category of receiving kind of disability support, or you have an EHCP, or you are on a SEND register, do you know what is available to you in terms of the application process as well? For university, have you considered things in the short term, student finance, accommodation, travel, location, league tables that you can get access to as well? If you're looking at other pathways, have you got a digital CV? Have you got a LinkedIn page set up or a paper CV as well? I know Davina did a Oshwal workshop not that long ago, perhaps last year. I've linked it on there as well, and she talks a lot on there about branding yourself, which would be really helpful for anyone that is considering setting up a LinkedIn page or some sort of a CV. Is this the path that leads you to the career that you want, or are there other options? So a lot of people I speak to who want to do law, for example, you don't have to do a law degree in order to do law. I've worked a lot with Sky, and a lot of their lawyers, I think about 65% of them, didn't actually study law at university. They studied English or history or something like that, an essay-based subject. So what that means is that they did a law conversion, which was about 2 years thereafter. They chose a degree that they were absolutely passionate about, which meant that they had so much confidence in choosing their future career, whether it was law, carrying on from there, or something else. And then is further training required after kind of your short-term decision? So for some courses like optometry, you have to do training afterwards for a year, your pre-registration year, etc. So do you know how to do that, and where to find that? But also, have I considered apprenticeship? So for those of you that are thinking perhaps university as well, have I looked at different types of apprenticeships? And I'll break those down in a little bit as well. You could be in this stage, I'm confused between all the options, or haven't started to think about it yet. And again, that's absolutely fine as well. Firstly, do you know what options are available to you? And if you don't, then, get informed. That was my first piece of advice. Do you know websites that could support you? You don't have to do this process alone. I'm one person, but there are several people that can help you in order for that decision-making process to happen. Is there a careers advisor in your school or in your educational establishment that can help you make that decision? Now, by law, you should have, if you are in a school, you should have had at least one careers advice meeting between year 7 and 11, and then one in year 12 or 13. So that's legislation that your school should have had. And if that hasn't happened, then obviously please do ask. Now, the UCAS website, which I'm hoping lots of you have heard about, is the main tool that we use to apply to universities. And I'll go through that in a little while of how to use that. But that's also now used for things like apprenticeships and scholarships and lots of different things. So they are expanding what's on their portal. If you don't have a careers advisor in your school and you do want careers advice, and this could be for anyone also that is any particular age, the National Careers Service is a government dedicated website to all careers, and it has up-to-date labour market information on there. So if you want to see how much could I earn being a physiotherapist, it will give you an average on there. How many hours could I expect to work? Again, it will tell you what route could I take in order to become an physiotherapist. Again, it will tell you on that website as well. So those two, I would say, are really key in getting informed at perhaps different stages of your journey. Now, if I go back to basics a little bit, just for perhaps any parents out there or anybody younger that is out there as well, you'll see a lot of these on the government websites, a level 2 qualification, level 3 qualification, a level 6 or a level 7 qualification. So just to break it down, a level 2 qualification are what we call GCSEs. A level 3 qualification are what we call A levels or BTECs or CTECs or T levels, if anybody's doing those. And the BTECs are now being kind of rebranding into AAQs, so you might see those. So that's what you would normally do in year 12 and 13. Anything kind of above that, up to a level 6 is an undergraduate degree. There are level 4s and 5s, which I'll speak about in a second. And a level 7 would be anything that's postgraduate kind of master's level. So when you're on the government websites, perhaps looking at apprenticeships and you see a level 3 apprenticeship or a level 6 apprenticeship, this is what it kind of equates to. If we look at it in terms of what's available by kind of year, so obviously in year 9, most people will be doing GCSE or choosing GCSEs. In year 11, these are the types of things that you would be choosing as your next steps, including apprenticeships, perhaps even employment after year 11. There's one thing on here that says supported internships, that those are specifically for people that are age 16 to 24 with special educational needs. And they are kind of structured work-based programs, normally shorter term, about 18 months. And then post year 13, you have people that go to uni. You might consider a gap year. You might consider a foundation degree. Foundation degrees are quite common with creative subjects, so arts-based subjects. Postgraduate degree obviously comes after the undergraduate degree. You might do a degree apprenticeship. And then I mentioned in between the level 3 and level 4, there's also a level 4 and 5 apprenticeships as well that you can do. So they're called higher national diplomas or higher national certificates. So if you don't really want a degree or don't need a degree, and these are quite common in companies like TfL, for example, they offer apprenticeships at a higher level that aren't necessarily degree level, because not every job requires a degree. Now, if you're at that point where you're thinking, I really don't know what career, I don't know what skills I have, I know I want to help people, I know I perhaps want to go into healthcare, there's lots of careers quizzes that you could have a go at. The Barclaycard Wheel of Strengths is a good one. It's free. You set up a free profile from the age of 14 and you kind of input all of your details onto there. You can then get a dashboard here which shows you what your skills and interests are, and what they match up to in terms of jobs. Then there's the NHS Health Careers Quiz, which is great. So if you're thinking, well, I really wanted to be a doctor, but I might not necessarily have that attainment, going back to what I said about being realistic, this allows you to look at 200 plus different types of careers within the NHS, remembering that also there is things like working in admin, working in finance, working in legal within healthcare as well. And then the last one is the UCAS Careers Quiz, to, again, another personality trait matching one to different types of jobs. So they're all free, they're all usable. You could do all 3 of them if you wanted to, but that might be a good place to start thinking about what types of jobs are out there. Now, what if you're at the stage of you're not ready to go to university yet, you don't really know what to do? Are you considering a gap year, perhaps? Are you considering deferred entry? So the difference between these two is that gap year is obviously you take a year out, and in that year, I strongly suggest if you are taking a gap year, you have a plan. So it could be you travel, or you work abroad for a little while, or you do some work experience or volunteer work and have something to kind of build up your CV. A deferred entry is for people that want to guarantee their university place. So it might be that you're not ready to start in September 2026, so you defer it to September 2027, and that gives you a year, like a gap year, in order to be able to do that. The difference between a gap year is also you don't have to go to university the following year. You could then get a job thereafter. It could be that you get some work experience or internships, as I mentioned, and then build yourself up through a company. And also for anybody with special educational needs, there's some more information about supported internships on that link there. Have some preparation in mind for that year, so, or several years if you are planning, I need a bigger break. Build up your CV, your digital CV, your LinkedIn, get some references from your school before you leave, because it's really hard to then get those once you have already left. Make sure you've got your UCAS personal statement done before you leave school, or try and have a staff member check it once you've left the school as well. So just make sure you are prepared so that you have a sign off for that. Now, UCAS is a really big thing because there's a lot to consider in terms of what goes on here. And there's a lot of talk in schools about personal statements. What should I write? How should I structure it? How can I be authentic? So I want to give you a little bit of help on that at this point here. So for everyone on here, including parents, you get 5 choices on UCAS, 5 universities that you'll choose. You will apply by your internal school deadline. So for example, in my school, it's usually around December. It could be slightly earlier for yours, but by January, they should all be kind of sent off. If you are applying for veterinary medicine, dentistry or medicine, or if you are applying for Oxford or Cambridge, the application deadline is October. Those get sent off early. I believe it's around the 15th of October. So that means that your predicted grades and all of that will be entered in earlier than everybody else's. And your personal statement will be split up into 3 sections. So before last year, it used to be kind of one essay-based thing. Now it's 3 different sections. So if you click on that link there, you will see kind of a video tutorial of how to actually do that. And I'll go through personal statements in a second with you as well. Every child should have an individual UCAS login that your school should provide to you, and you'll upload your answers to your personal statement and your personal information and all your choices onto that UCAS login. Now, it could be that you need to do some entrance tests for the types of courses or universities you choose. You do need to check that in advance. Your school generally is not liable for checking those. So you will need to know, do I need to do, for example, a UCAT exam if I am applying for medicine to a particular university? Chances are you probably are going to have to. Now, these entrance tests are done at test centres across the country. The London-based ones, for anybody that's based in London, they tend to get booked up really, really quickly. And it might be you end up going outside of London to do these. So I strongly recommend checking where is the nearest test centre, when do the bookings open, when can I book, and get those sorted. And for anyone thinking of applying abroad, check the individual uni requirements. UCAS is probably not the best place to do that. I would go onto the individual uni website. Know that you will not qualify for student finance because student finance is for people in the UK, but you may qualify for scholarships dependent upon what type of category you fit into in terms of perhaps sports scholarships or musical, arts-based, etc., etc. So if you are applying abroad, the finance is going to be quite different. So please do look into that as well. So just to show you on how to write your personal statement, on the UCAS website, there are several different things that you could have a look at there as well. Okay. So anyone thinking of applying to Oxford, their admissions process has changed as of this year. Their admissions tests some of them are retiring. So you might have seen some of these tests. For example, the maths admissions test is no longer functioning now. So they've got these 3 tests, which most of the unis are doing. So Cambridge and Imperial are doing all the same tests now. So the ESAT for engineering and science, the TARA for academic reasoning, and then for maths, it's called the TMUA now as well. You will see for anybody that applying to law, you'll be doing a test called the LNAT for lots of unis. Not all, but quite a lot of unis will do the LNAT. And for medicine, it's the UCAT. You might see some previous material that said BMAT for medicine. The BMAT doesn't run as much anymore. It's mostly UCAT for pretty much most of the universities as well. But do have a look at individual websites for more information on what those tests are, and then practice papers and things like that. Okay, so when you choose your university courses, we'll start off with kind of course names first. There are different names of courses. So when you choose A-levels, it's usually one subject: history, geography, maths, RE, etc. With university, there are several names of courses you could study. I'm a geography graduate, but there were people studying geography and film, geography and German. So there's several different combinations that you can have. So just to give you an idea of what those things mean, if a subject says sociology and politics, so if there's an and, it means that your degree will be 50% sociology and 50% politics. If it says with sociology with politics, it means that it's going to be 2/3 sociology and 1/3 politics. And it could be that they're taught in different kind of departments. So you might have some lectures for sociology in one building and some for politics in another building. And then there are some that are called with a foundation year, which have a lower entry requirement. So let's say you needed 3 Bs to do sociology, but you got 3 Cs. It could be you could do sociology with a foundation year that will allow you to get onto the course with your 3 Cs, but it would be 1 year longer. And that foundation year is just to boost up your knowledge in order for you to kind of continue. So in terms of personal statements, I mentioned there were 3 questions. The first one is, why do you want to study this course or subject? The second one is, how have your qualifications and studies prepared you for this course? And then the third one, what else have you done to prepare outside of education, and why are these experiences useful? The beginning bit of the why is really important. You do need to showcase your passion, make it authentic. Why are you really interested in that particular degree? Now, the number of personal statements I've read that says, I've always wanted to be a doctor, I've always wanted to be a dentist, it's the same thing. And, you know, you need it to be something quite different. A lot of people choose personal experiences. So it might be you talk about something that's happened to you that's relevant, or you've read a really thrilling academic journal or a piece of research or something that you want to kind of start with. So the why. The prep, what have you done in your A-level subjects, in your BTECs, in your qualifications that have prepared you for that course? Talk about your skills. Even if you're doing a history degree, but you're studying chemistry, what have you learned in chemistry that might help you, kind of the analytical skills that would help you within the degree that you are choosing? And then the last bit focuses on two different aspects. So supercurricular and extracurricular. So supercurricular are things to do with your subject that are outside of your subject. So it might be they're not on your curriculum, but you want to read up on that particular subject. So you want to read up on what's happening. So for example, I teach A-level geography, and a lot of my students are reading up on things about trade wars between China and the USA, and it's not necessarily on our specification, but it's around that kind of subject matter. Extracurricular is all the kind of hobbies and things that you do outside of that volunteer work. Maybe you have a part-time job, maybe you do Duke of Edinburgh, maybe you're a cadet, all of those things that make you a really interesting person. Now, admissions leaders want people that are well-rounded. They don't just want people that, you know, have a set of qualifications and that's it. There's no substance to that person. So one of the admissions tutors on the UCAS website wrote this, that we want to look at why someone has applied for that course. We want to see what inspires them. You need to sound genuinely excited about what you are going to study. And if you're not, and you're struggling with a personal statement, I would strongly recommend you rethinking applying to university or applying for that course. Obviously, she's written there, an applicant is more than a set of qualifications. It's also of equal importance what they do outside of their studies as well. What else makes you a person that can contribute to that university environment? And that's what that personal statement is used for. So UCAS have done a really good kind of infographic of what to do and what to avoid in terms of the personal statement. So do's of be enthusiastic, be positive, get feedback. There are people at my school that do 20, 30 drafts of it. So if it takes you that long, it's okay. Be relevant, but don't exaggerate. They will know if you have talked about something that you've read and you haven't really read it. Don't leave it late, because it is a document that takes quite a long time to write. Please don't use ChatGPT or any other kind of tool that will help you write it for you. It has to be authentic, and that's the most important thing there. So moving on to degree apprenticeships. Now, there's a lot in the news about kind of going to university and graduates not having enough jobs and struggling kind of in the job market. And equally with degree apprenticeships, are there enough out there for the number of people that want them? The answer is probably no. There aren't enough degree apprenticeships out there. Are they expanding? Yes, they are. There is also a stigma about apprenticeships where a lot of people think that apprenticeships are a much easier option than going to university. Perhaps it's a dumber option than going to university, perhaps, and it's absolutely not the case. Just to kind of summarize what degree apprenticeships are, you get a degree out of it. So it's a level 6 level that I mentioned earlier. There isn't any debt, which often you might get going to university. You get the training, you get the pay, you also get the day-to-day work experience because you are employed, and that gives job satisfaction as well as kind of responsibility as well. So there's a lot to take away from degree apprenticeships as well. Having said that, most jobs will have degree apprenticeships available, but there are a handful that currently yet don't. So for example, if you want to be a doctor, you have to study medicine through the traditional route of going to university. There aren't degree apprenticeships that allow you to do that. If you want to be a barrister, again, you need to do a degree rather than a degree apprenticeship. It doesn't actually exist yet. However, if you want to go into law but be a solicitor, you can do a degree apprenticeship, and that takes about 6 years. And it is a long period of time, but in that time you get a lot of life experience, a lot of work experience, and you get paid in that time as well. So it kind of puts you onto that ladder if you wanted to buy a property, etc. So when would you apply for degree apprenticeships? Now, if you're in year 12 or in year 13, you would apply for them in year 13 around December onwards. So I would say December, January, February are the ones that would appear for you to apply to for a September start, the September after you finish your year 13. But really, if you are taking a gap year or any time out of education, you can apply at any point. They kind of crop up like job vacancies, but the application process is quite long. Where would you look for those? So there's a couple of links on here that you can see. So the government apply for apprenticeships, that will have live vacancies on there, and you can filter it by level. So if you know, I don't really want to do a degree, but I do want to do an apprenticeship, I want to start working, you can filter it to a level 3 or a level 4, etc., as we spoke about. How do I prepare? Now, even though degree apprenticeships are kind of something that you would apply for almost like a job, it's not as simple as you have an interview and then you're kind of done. It will be a lot more complicated than that. You might have 5, 6, 7 rounds of interviews for a degree apprenticeship. It might be you go to a test center to do a assessment. It might be you do a group assessment task. So I would definitely ask your school, are there options for you to have a mock interview of some sort? Can you record yourself? You might have to do a video recording of you talking about something and then kind of send it off to there as well. I'm just going to pause for a second because I've seen some questions in the chat box. If students don't receive enough career guidance at school, what other resources or steps can they use to explore career options and make informed decisions about their future? Great question. And to be honest, the careers advice that is given in schools is very scatty. In some schools, it's great. In other schools, it's non-existent, which is a real shame. So as I said, number one, call your school up on it. They should have a careers person, whether they're in school or whether they're a consultant, that you should be able to contact either in person or on the phone. And that is by law. So I would push to be able to speak to that person. If obviously that hasn't happened, the National Careers website has a chat function where you can live speak to somebody either on the phone or you can web chat with them as well. And it will be similar to talking to a careers advisor as well. So they'll be informed on lots of different things there as well. Success at School, which is the link that's on the screen at the moment, they are really good about next steps at different stages. So whether you're in year 9, year 11, year 13, whether you're older than that, they've got some really good advice for making informed decisions. And they've got a parent section as well. Lots of places now are doing kind of parent magazines of how to support children too. So that would be a good one. Alternatively, I'm more than happy to help give you some advice or guidance at another point or at the end of this. Another question, if a student has not had a job yet, what are the most cost-effective ways to build meaningful experience? I'm going to come on to that because there's a section on work experience and how to get it towards the end. And we can talk about work experience and volunteer work in a little while. So degree apprenticeships, what do I look for in terms of degree apprenticeships? You want to look at the location. Lots of them aren't in London. Can you move? Are you able to travel there? You want to look at what level it is, what pay it is, what type of training they offer, and also look at the reputation of that company that are delivering them as well. Recently, there's a lot of, anyone interested in kind of childcare, there's a lot of nurseries that are offering degree apprenticeships, but you need to look at the kind of Ofsted rating and the reviews of these nurseries as well, because not all of them are satisfactory. So you need to know that you're going to a place that's really good. Okay, so work experience and gap year work. One of the best websites that came out of COVID really was Springpod. And Springpod do a lot of virtual work experience in all different types of sectors. They are on demand. Once you sign up, you've got 3 weeks to complete them. So for anyone in kind of exam years, maybe when your exams finish, and that might be a good time to do it. You get a certificate at the end of it, which is great for your portfolio. They are aimed at age 14 upwards, but quite a lot of year 12s seem to do them, particularly in the summer term. They are often written by companies or universities, so they are accredited in some way, but they are a great place to start. So that's kind of answering your question in the chat. If you haven't had a job yet, this is a really great place to build up meaningful experience, and it is known for universities to recognize Springpod work experience as well, because some work experience is really, really hard to get, particularly in fields like engineering, for example, is very difficult. In person, if you can, through personal networks. So it could be through the Oshwal network, it could be through family networks, or perhaps you've set up LinkedIn. But any networks you have, if somebody can offer you a bit of shadowing, even if it's just a day, that would be a really good experience for you. If you are thinking gap year or deferred entry, perhaps think about working abroad. TEFL courses, so teaching English as a foreign language, have been around for a very long time. So again, if you haven't had a job yet and you're at that age where you can work abroad and you have that mobility, then completing a TEFL course and choosing somewhere to work abroad is really great experience, particularly because it's putting you out of your comfort zone a little bit, but for a short amount of time. And it looks really good on your CV as well. So that might be something that you are interested in. And again, if you are interested in a gap year, Prospects is a fantastic website for careers in general. So kind of answering your question in the chat about making informed decisions, Prospects is great. They have a section on jobs and work experience / gap year. And UCAS also have the same as well, with a CV builder tool. So if you've never drawn up a CV, you don't know what it looks like, UCAS is a great website with the link on there for you as well. For any parents or perhaps even students who aren't aware of the terminology of all these different types of qualifications, I've kind of just done a little glossary there for you of what each of them mean, just in case you're not sure. So that is there for you if you wish to use it. And thank you for listening. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them. And just to end on a quote from Steve Jobs, the only way to do great work is to love what you do. And if you haven't found it yet, keep looking, don't settle. And I can honestly and very proudly say, I love what I do. I love my career. I love waking up in the morning and helping people, either through the teaching geography aspect or through the careers advice and guidance aspect. And I push myself academically. I'm trying to do lots of research and things that are meaningful. If your work or your kind of aspirations for work aren't giving you that satisfaction and you're driving because of money, which is also fine as well, but if you don't have that job satisfaction, it's going to be a struggle in the long term to kind of keep waking up and doing what you do every single day. So I would definitely try and carve your career, and going back to my original advice, be informed, get lots of experience, and be open to lots of different things, because university isn't the only path. And I went to university and maybe I should have done something else, but university is fantastic and it has lots to offer, but so do other things as well. So one size doesn't necessarily fit all. Another question on the chat: what should students know about the job market that schools don't always talk about? I mean, I guess it depends what type of school you're in. My school does talk about AI and labour market information. I think it's just using the right resources in order to know about things like AI. I know how popular TikTok is with the younger generation, and there's a lot of kind of fast information that gets flashed around, and it's not necessarily all accurate. A lot of people are saying AI is going to replace all our jobs, migrants are going to replace all our jobs, this is going to happen, and it's not all true. There's a lot of kind of fake news out there. So just be mindful of what type of websites you're using to find out that information. Schools should be implementing in their curriculum talks about AI, and if they're not, again, ask. But as I said, I've included some of the links on there for you so you can have a look at what they're really saying. If anyone has a subscription to The Economist, there's a lot on there as well about AI and job market, so that might be a good place to start as well.
Jilna, can I just interrupt?
Yeah, of course.
The chat on YouTube isn't working today. We've got some tech issues. would it be possible if you want to share your contact details, or if I put my contact details, people
Happy
can
to do
ask
that.
questions?
Yeah. If you want to put your contact details, and I can put my LinkedIn on there, I'm happy to do that.
Do your LinkedIn and that people can connect with you directly. I think that might be better.
Yeah, no worries.
Because some rather than coming through me and then me forwarding it, it might be easier.
That's fine. I can put it in the chat.
And yeah, I think there's a couple more questions as well. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's fine.
And would
Well,
you want to share your PowerPoint or the
yeah, I'm happy to. Yeah, that's fine.
okay, so I'll give my email at the end and then I can share that with people.
Yeah, absolutely. From your experience, what separates a good UCAS application from a great one? That's a good question. I would say the personal statement is everything, in that most universities will look at that and have three piles. They will have a pile that will say no, and a maybe, and a yes, and they will look at thousands of them, and how your personal statement reads will tell them a lot about you, because nowadays a lot of universities don't tend to interview anymore, and if they do interview, it's normally a virtual interview. So there's very few opportunities for the universities to actually meet you as a person and speak to you, except for obviously places like Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial, etc. Most of the other universities won't. So I would say your personal statement, using the advice that I gave, make it authentic, make it interesting. If they can't tell you are absolutely over the moon inspired about the subject you are choosing, there is absolutely no point in applying for it. And that, I would say, is a great application. Those that are so inherently positive and exciting to read, because they can tell how passionate you are about the subject, without starting the personal statement with saying, I am so passionate about studying history, because it's very cliche. Starting with something, else, maybe a quote or something like that. And then the next question, how can parents support their teens without adding pressure? This is interesting because I have kids and they're young, so I'm not at that point as a parent yet in terms of, what I would be like. I don't know if I pressure them or not, but I've come across so many parents working in education for as long as I have, and it's become very apparent that parents still have quite a lot of say in what their child should do, what their child should study, where their child should study, particularly where I teach. A lot of children aren't allowed to go to university outside of London. They want them kind of close, and they want them studying certain things, and they don't want them applying for apprenticeships, etc. And I guess I would say, even though your teen is only 16, 17, listen to them. If they have done their research, and hopefully they have, but if they have done their research and they've been informed, particularly after today's webinar, because why not, then you should have decisions that you're making that are really good and justifiable, and parents should be listening. Obviously, if you think your child is making a decision that is ridiculous, then have that conversation first before you decide what you think is best for them. I think this kind of hierarchy that exists of, do you know what, a reputable career is being a doctor, a reputable career is being a lawyer, it doesn't exist, really, it doesn't exist. At the end of the day, you probably want your child to be happy, to be successful, but to just be happy and to be earning, and whatever that looks like, you don't want them to stress them out in the process of doing that and then end up hating the career that they're actually in. It needs to be a joint decision. So kids need to be informed about all the options that are available to them, but so do parents. Parents also need to be informed as well. And I know I'm adding homework to parents now, which is a little bit annoying, but it just means that your relationship with your child ends up being so much better because you're actually making decisions together, and they will support you for it and they will love you for it. And they might not like you if, you're suggesting something that you think might be better for them, but at some point you're going to have to let them make their decisions, and as I said, websites like Success at School are great for kind of parent tips on how to do that without adding that pressure to their teens, because really your child's been in education for 10 years plus. It's those exams are really stressful. The exams are harder if you've got special educational needs, because most of them are written exams, and they're not necessarily tailored for individuals. So they've already got a ton of pressure added onto them. And what we want to do is we want to take away from that so that there's combined decision making instead. So I hope that answers that question without being too controversial.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't think there are any more questions. So I guess we can close for tonight. So I just want to quickly say a huge thank you to you, Jilna, for such an insightful presentation. I've certainly learned a great deal, so I'm sure everyone else has. And if you have any more questions, please do get in touch with Jilna through LinkedIn or myself. My email is smita.j.shah@oshwal.org. Also, if you want the presentation from tonight, please do get in touch. So, oh, I think, have we got, no, that's just you putting your LinkedIn in. So Jilna's LinkedIn is Jilna Virani. Does that help? So thank you everyone for joining us this evening. We hope tonight's session has given you plenty to think about and has supported you in your future planning and next steps. I also need to thank OA UK Media team for making tonight possible and for all the work happening behind the scenes to support us. And a special thank you to Nish for helping everything run smoothly tonight. Before we say goodnight, I just wanted to remind everyone that we have a special workshop on Saturday, this Saturday, 28th of February at Oshwal Centre called Mind, Body and Soul, being presented by Dr. Seema Shah and Urvina of UCAN Coaching. Seema Shah has written a lot of recipes in the Oshwal magazine, so you will know of her. Details of the booking details and the link is on the OA UK website. So see you all on Saturday. I think before I close, there's one more message. No, it's just a thank you from Middle. So yeah, thank you to everyone. And on that note, I'm going to say good night.
हरिहंत प्रभु ना दर्शन करता ओम नमो हरिहंताणं सिद्ध प्रभु ना दर्शन करता ओम नमो सिद्धाणं आचार्यों ने वंदन करता ओम नमो आयर्याणं उपाध्याय ने वंदन करता ओम नमो उपाध्यायाणं सर्व साधु ने वंदन करता नमो लोए सब साधूणं सम्यक दर्शन मुझने मर्जो पंचन मुक्तारो सम्यक ज्ञान मुझने मर्जो सम्यक चारित्र मुझने मर्जो मंगलानं च सर्वेषु नवपदनी